It's Halloween night again, and 21-year-old Corey Cunningham rides his bike to the Allens' house as the streets of Haddonfield get dark. Kids begin to leave their homes to go trick-or-treating with friends. The neighborhood is getting busy. Corey's babysitting tonight, and the little devil's name is Jeremy. The boy is kind of nice, except for the annoying nature boys sometimes display. His mom and dad are headed to a Halloween party and need Corey to keep an eye on little Jeremy since he's been having trouble sleeping lately. Corey sounds like an easygoing yet shy young man who seems okay with his last-minute job call. He needs money to pay for college anyways. Even though Mrs. Allen expressed her complete disapproval of Jeremy watching scary movies and eating candy tonight, the boys don't listen, and while eating all the candies in the house, Corey and Jeremy watch a trash horror film. Following the babysitter and kid on Halloween night trope, Corey teases Jeremy about being too young to watch those movies, and that he probably won't be able to sleep later. Jeremy doesn't even let him finish the thought and gets back to Corey, warning him that Michael Myers doesn't go after children, he goes after the babysitters. Corey has had enough of the brat and gives him 5 minutes to go to bed. But there's no order Corey gives Jeremy that the boy won't disrespect, so he continues watching the trash movie while eating all the candies he can get his hands on. Corey helps himself with some cake and milk from the fridge, but Jeremy seems to be putting his prank plan into motion in the living room. The 21-year-old guy finds the living room light off and the front door open. He goes outside to check the front yard, but everything looks calm, maybe too calm, in Corey's opinion. Back inside, the kitchen cake knife isn't there, and Corey hears Jeremy's screams from upstairs. The kid seems to be fighting against something, so Jeremy gets the kitchen knife he finds on the stairwell and sneaks into the attic, where he believes the screams came from. The place is completely dark, and Corey doesn't look so brave at the moment, and even less brave when Jeremy locks him up in the darkened and dusty room. Corey demands the boy opens the door, but, as expected, Jeremy doesn't give two shits about Corey's orders. What they don't know by now is that, outside, the Allens' car is arriving on the driveway. Corey gets nervous and tense about being locked up, and Jeremy takes advantage of it, saying that Michael Myers is going to get him. Corey loses his grip and kicks the door, while screaming at the boy, who laughs hysterically. Corey is aware that he doesn't excel at babysitting, but he needs the cash to fulfill his dream of going to college. Babysitting doesn't mean he has to put up with Jeremy's shitty attitude, so he kicks the door, threatening the boy. The dust on the door shakes off of it as Corey hits it harder, screaming at the top of his lungs that Jeremy will be sorry for his prank. The Allens get home soon enough to hear the door being kicked open. A horrid banging sound comes from upstairs, and the entire house goes silent for a second. Mrs. Allen turns around, looks at her husband while asking what is happening, and before the man opens his mouth to give her any answers, Jeremy onto the hallway, right in front of his parents. The silence that fills the Allen family home gives way to Mrs. Allen's desperate scream. There's no hope for the little brat, or for Corey, who's about to have his future tainted forever. At home, Laurie Strode recollects the most horrific moments ever since Michael Myers came into her life, from when she was a high school girl to the present as a grandmother who lost her daughter to Michael's cruelty. The entire town knows her, and has been affected by Michael's obsession with Laurie. After 4 years of her daughter's terrible ending on that Halloween night, Laurie tries to put her life and her granddaughter's life back on track and writes a book about her memories and hopes for the future. While Laurie works in a deep state of focus, Allison gets ready to work. She's a nurse at Haddonfield's hospital, but both women have to stop what they're doing and sprint to the kitchen. There's smoke coming from it, and the fire alarm is loud. Allison runs around the house, trying to set the alarm off, and Laurie is devastated. She forgot a delicious pumpkin pie in the oven, and it's now completely torched. Allison can't believe her grandma's despair over a pie, but the truth is that Laurie just wanted Allison to have a silly and ordinary Halloween day. It was a nice move, even though it didn't work. Laurie encourages Allison to find a costume and go to a Halloween party later that day, but the young woman isn't interested in going alone, so she decides not to go. All the hopes and dreams Corey had for his future as a college student went down the drain after what happened to Jeremy on that Halloween night. He rides his old bike to work. Corey works at his stepdad's junkyard, and he's late again. He works fast, trying to make up for the time he wasted earlier. But he, of all people, should know that there's no such thing as fixing mistakes from the past. He hears the radio that's all about the upcoming Halloween night while working on an old car. Ronald, his stepdad and owner of the junkyard, calls Corey to show him something. The big man, who looks tough, sounds like a gentle guy, and a positive father figure to Corey. He shows Corey an old motorcycle he fixed and tells the young man that the motorbike is a gift, so he can stop arriving late every day. It's the first time in a long time since Corey felt excited about something. Ronald seems to be relieved. Allison seems distracted while driving, but a police car right on her tail brings her attention back to earth. She pulls over, and Officer Mulaney approaches the car. It's not a good day for Allison, and that's written all over her face. On the other hand, Officer Mulaney sounds pretty relaxed as he hits on her. It becomes clear that they have had some kind of relationship, but Allison doesn't seem interested anymore. The traffic on the overpass is calm, and Allison will probably get to work fast and without any trouble. Things seem calm under the overpass as well, but it's not the kind of calmness the citizens of Haddonfield would like to experience on this day. Under the overpass, an old homeless man gathers his trinkets on a supermarket cart. It looks like a pretty ordinary day for him, as he passes by an old sewer pipe and sings while collecting some soda cans. The old homeless man collects his everyday junk from the trash at this convenience store on a gas station. His attention changes from the filthy trash to a man arriving at the convenience store on a bike. That's Corey, in one of his least favorite moments of the day, running errands and meeting people. Every single person in Haddonfield follows Corey's moves with disapproval and judgmental look on their faces. He probably feels filthier and more overlooked than the homeless man and his junk outside the store. It's school time, but a group of 4 teenagers drive to the convenience store to buy some beer, even knowing they are underage and can't buy alcohol. The leader of the high schoolers, who's a jock, obviously teases Corey into buying them alcoholic drinks, but going against the law isn't in Corey's plans, so he refuses. The school kids become hostile, which is no shock for Corey. The leader of the bullies intimidates him as soon as he and the rest of the group recognize Corey from the horrid Halloween night of 2019, when he was supposed to babysit Jeremy. The group gets even more hostile with Corey, who holds his breath, and the urge to punch them in their faces. The tension is so overwhelming that Corey ends up shattering his cold drink in his hand. Before a tragedy happens, the group of bullies is interrupted by one of the gas station's customers, Laurie Strode, who acts on behalf of Corey. The high schoolers have no respect for Corey or Laurie whatsoever, but they stop trash-talking them. Laurie helps Corey get back to his feet and invites him to get back at the little brats by giving them a gift. Laurie hands Corey a pocket knife, and the frustrated young man has a moment of revenge by cutting the jock's car tire. They leave in Laurie's car. The hospital goes against the expectations for a Halloween day, and seems calm at the moment. Allison talks to a colleague about the party, which she plans to ditch. Laurie surprises Allison as she arrives at the hospital with the young man who looks really frightened. She asks Allison's help to take care of Corey's hand. A vulnerable and scared man seems like an interesting project to Allison, which is pretty clear considering the way she looks at him. Allison works under the doctor's orders and cleans Corey's cut before it gets stitched. But unexpectedly, Corey makes a scene when he feels the anesthesia needle puncturing his flesh. All the medical instruments fly away after the scared and clumsy Corey tosses the card away. The doctor is pissed off and leaves the rest of the job for Allison. He's actually very disrespectful and authoritarian toward her. Corey is sympathetic to her and gives Allison some words of encouragement. She's not interested, so they start talking about Corey and what he does for a living. He also seems to be into her, but has no hopes considering his awful past. She makes her move and shares that she actually needs someone to take a look at her car. The conversation flows effortlessly and ends with Corey under her car analyzing the issue. He invites her to stop by his stepdad's junkyard so he can fix the problem, which isn't a big deal. Allison asks him to teach him how to ride his motorcycle as her last move. Later that day, Allison gets to Ronald's junkyard looking for Corey. The young man, who looks a bit more confident riding his bike, approaches the girl, inviting her to go for a ride with him. Truth be told, the car's problem is the least of Allison's priorities right now. She wants to ask Corey out. They're interrupted by a new customer with a slashed tire. It's Corey's bully, the high school jock, and his bully dad. Meanwhile, Laurie goes grocery shopping and bumps into Officer Hawkins, who looks and sounds very pleased to see her. Laurie isn't indifferent to his compliments and feels glad to see him as well. Both survivors dream of the day they'll be able just to rest, away from the madness Haddonfield represents. But they know that's almost a pipe dream. Laurie leaves the grocery store with a 15-year-old schoolgirl's smile on her face after seeing Officer Hawkins. Her smile is wiped out abruptly when a stranger stops her to curse the day she was born. This woman's sister lost her voice and her ability to live her life to the fullest after Michael Myers attacks her, and the angry woman blames Laurie for staying in Haddonfield, feeding Michael's hunger for her blood. The woman's harsh words bring Laurie back to reality. She backs away from them and gets to her car seconds before Hawkins. He wants to make sure she's okay. They both know Michael Myers' toll on her life since 1978. On their way to the Halloween party, Allison and Corey avoid listening to the radio, which the sole purpose of tonight is to talk about Michael Myers. They arrive at the party, much to Allison's sassy friend Deb's surprise. The party is wild. Allison is glad she's there with Corey. They dance their traumas away and drink like there'll be no tomorrow. They take a few minutes away from the dance floor to register their chemistry in the photo booth next to the bar. Corey is having the time of his life. After the miserable years that followed the Jeremy incident, he reaches out to the bartender asking for drinks. But the smile on his face fades when he's approached by the last person he would want to see in this world, Mrs. Allen. She hasn't gotten over the loss of her child, of course, and drinks heavily at the party on another anniversary of the worst day of her life as a mother. She can't believe or accept that Corey is at the party, having fun, like he hasn't taken away from her the person she loved the most in her life. She loses control and jumps onto his neck. It takes a while for the bartender to control Mrs. Allen, but Corey runs away from the hectic and loud place. He's pissed off at Allison for taking him there, blaming her for what just happened with Mrs. Allen. Allison finally cuts to the chase and shares with Corey that she knows what he is going through. She knows what it's like to be pointed out on the streets as the reason for the most horrific tragedies that have ever happened to the town of Haddonfield. Corey doesn't see the situation the same way. The people of Haddonfield treat Allison as a survivor, not as a criminal as they do to him. Corey walks away, infuriated, and little did he know that things would escalate pretty quickly in a matter of minutes. As he crosses the overpass, the high schooler's car pulls over and the sessions begin again. But things go down very differently this time for everyone. Terry jumps out of the driver's seat, blaming Corey for the hard time he had with his dad because of the flat tire. He tosses Corey over the hood of the car, but Corey comes back with a pocket knife and lashes out in rage. Terry steps back, shocked by Corey's attitude, but his response is equal to, or worse than, Corey's. He grabs Corey by the sweater and throws him down the overpass. Corey falls, barely conscious, into the dark, filthy ground around the old sewer. The old homeless man sees everything, but does the one thing that helped him survive all these years. He simply ignores what he sees and hears. Like any Terry caves to his cowardness, saying that Corey jumped and that he has nothing to do with it, and leaves. Things get much worse for Corey when something, or someone, grabs him by the legs and pulls him into the old, dark sewer. Life as he knew it ended for Corey right there. Back home, Allison draws a fight against the microwave oven, waking her grandma up. She can't deal with the fact that Corey just left her there after everything she told him. Outside, the sun comes up, shining, but not for Corey. Corey's in the sewer, regaining consciousness, completely dizzy and disoriented. The pitch-black and gross place takes him into a state of panic very fast, and inside that god-awful cave, he gets to know a whole new level of dread. Corey sees a way out, but a strong and steady hand grabs him by the neck. It's Michael Myers, proving that evil still survives. As he always does, Michael looks his victim deep in the eye, but unlike anything that has ever happened to him, evil looks back at him. For some unknown reason, Michael Myers and Corey connect in the strangest way, and Corey is living proof of that connection. He leaves the sewer alive. The old homeless man can't believe what he's witnessing, and jumps onto Corey, asking why Michael let him go. Corey can't process everything that's happening right now, but soon will understand that what he's about to do to the homeless man is just a rite of passage, a gift from Michael Myers for him. Going through her personal living hell, Allison has to hear Nurse Deb, her colleague, bragging about the promotion she's got. A promotion that Allison worked day in and day out to get, but that Deb got by using some different and totally unprofessional resources. If the young and frustrated woman had any ounce of hope in her body, that's the moment she lost it completely. Later that day, Lori's brainstorming moment ends when she sees a male figure standing behind the shrubs. In a matter of seconds, she's washed by a wave of fear as old wounds reopen and sting her soul. Lori is downstairs in front of her home, alone, when Corey comes from the back of the house unannounced. He's there for Allison. She can't help but feel the shiver coming down her spine, a similar feeling she had when Michael was around. Corey apologizes to Allison in front of Lori, but his good intentions don't take away her fear as she watches her granddaughter walk away with him. Corey confesses the murder of the homeless man to Allison. She stays with him, and they walk to the Allens' old home. Lori plays her card by paying Corey's mom a visit, but the chat isn't pleasant. Allison and Corey spend some time at the local diner, while Corey explains himself to her, since things are never easy or simple for her. Officer Mulaney comes by their table to share his unrequested opinion on Corey, but the angry young man doesn't walk away. Mulaney realizes it's a fight he can't win, and leaves to his table. This is a crucial moment, and a turning point in Allison's life. She takes up Corey's offer to burn the world to the ground. Soon after dropping Allison at home, Corey goes to his new favorite spot in town, the sewers. He probably hasn't noticed, but Mulaney is on his tail, and finds the cold corpse of the homeless man Corey attacked. Corey knocks Mulaney out and takes him into the sewer, where he and Michael play with their food. Michael Myers attacks Mulaney, but he fights back against the monstrous murderer, revealing what everyone believes to be impossible. Michael Myers is weak and frail. Corey holds Mulaney and Michael finishes the job, clearly breathless. Corey runs to Allison's house to let her know the news. She's completely on his side and takes care of his wounds. At the bar, Lori confides to her friend Lindsay, the bartender, what she felt when she looked into Corey's eyes. Lindsay decides to bring a new character to the chat. It's Jeremy's dad. He shares that he doesn't hate Corey for what happened to Jeremy, but that he fears the new and dark twist Corey's life has taken, confirming Lori's fear for Allison's safety. Dr. Mathies, Allison's boss, arrives home after a tough day at work, and he's not alone. Nurse Deb is with him. The experienced doctor sets the mood for the furry night he plans to have with Deb. The nurse decides to take a quick shower before her night of fun begins. Mathies sits by the pool with his wine and listens to some music, but his moment of glory ends when he sees a man wearing a scarecrow mask. It's Corey, and he attacks Mathies viciously. After hearing noises, Deb comes from the bathroom and sees the end of the road. Michael Myers grabs the woman by the neck and staples her onto the wall. Their job is done. For now, Michael Myers' pupil celebrates his first successful mission outside the sewer with Allison, on the roof of the town's radio building. He has a new plan in motion. After asking Allison to join him in his new life, he jumps from the building to get the attention of Willie, the radio host and owner. Willie trash talks Corey and confronts Allison. That's the spark Corey needed to light up in Allison. Now, she's ready to run away with him. What she didn't know is that everything unfolded before Lori's eyes. Corey goes home to say goodbye to his mom. He spends the night of October 30th at the Allens' abandoned house, and wakes up on Halloween morning to find Laurie Strode waiting for him. He doesn't care if she disapproves of his relationship with Allison, and the chat ends quickly. He storms inside Michael Myers' hideout, demanding Michael's power over the town. His mask. Michael isn't in his best shape to fight, and Corey leaves carrying Michael Myers' identity, and off he goes to his new bloody mission. At the gas station, Terry and his gang find his car trashed, with a message on its hood. Corey wrote the word psycho, and Terry caught the bait. Meanwhile, Lori does everything in her power to convince Allison to stay with her and forget Corey, but Allison shows Lori her true colors and defies her grandmother's authority. Terry plans to catch Corey at Ronald's junkyard, but the gang of high schoolers should prepare for what's coming. He feels like the most dangerous teenager on Earth while messing with Corey's motorcycle, but interrupts his performance when he realizes that his friend Billy hasn't left his car. And that's the first time Terry's courage is tested. He doesn't know it yet, but he stands in an unknown territory, unknown for him and his miserable friends. Terry and the girls scream for help when they see Ronald in his office. Terry comes into the office, and Corey's stepdad hands him a huge gun and tells him to watch out, but things don't look very good outside. The girls are hunted one by one. They try to escape by jumping the wired gate, but one of them is hit by the truck Corey's driving. Things unfold fast. Corey knows exactly what to do now. The second girl is struck down and drops unconscious. Terry, even though he's scared shitless, plays the hero by trying to shoot the one who's hunting them, but as usual, he messes up and hits Ronald by mistake. Terry doesn't stop there and tries to save the girl hit by the truck, but he's also struck down and meets his horrifying ending, the violence of Corey's torch. The junkyard chapter has ended for Corey, who now wears the face of Haddonfield's boogeyman. Time to move on to the next victim. At home, Corey's mom watches TV when she's attacked by her son, holding a knife. Corey has a plan for Halloween night, and he's committed to it. Next, he heads to the radio station, where Willie the Kid trash-talked Michael Myers all week long, and he also sees the end of his life. Not far from there, Allison sits in a diner waiting for Corey. She makes sure to ghost her grandmother every time she calls. She texts and texts, but Corey doesn't show up, so she heads to his home. No one answers, and the creepy gut feeling that something is terribly wrong takes over her. Lori leaves Allison a message that goes straight to voicemail, and gets ready to do the one thing she believes will put an end to the Michael Myers nightmare. She calls emergency to report the end of something she plans to do herself. Lori Strode opens an old drawer and pulls a dusty gun out of it. Over her desk, there are countless sheets of paper with the story of her life that she once planned to turn into a book, but that now she sees as the summary of her tragedy. So, she prepares to end it. Someone comes from downstairs and opens the door right after hearing the gunshot. The door creaks slowly, but what's on the floor is just another symbol of Lori Strode's life crusade. Lori throws Corey downstairs, but he surprises her again with a knife. But the knife isn't meant for her. Corey takes Michael Myers' mask off and plunges the knife into. Lori can't believe it and tries to stop him, but Allison comes in and sees what she believes to be her grandmother attacking her boyfriend. Allison leaves the house heartbroken. Lori weeps, but not for long. There's a door open now, but she didn't do it. Michael Myers' mask lies on the floor, but an old, big hand picks it up. The boogeyman is back. He ends Corey's life and hunts Lori in her own territory. Allison is leaving town, but stops halfway when she sees the radio tower on fire. Officer Hawkins calls Allison, asking about Lori and her disturbing call to the emergency services. Lori hides from Michael, just like in the old times. He silently lurks around the kitchen, looking for her. A bang coming from the microwave distracts him, and Lori jumps out of the pantry, more furious than ever. They fight hand to hand. Two enemies that have been hunting each other for 4 decades, and now seem to have finally met the end of their saga. The fight isn't easy, but Lori overpowers Michael, even though he refuses to give up. Lori takes his mask off, the mask that has empowered him for so long. She gently slides the knife on his, and slowly, he stops moving. Michael Myers' body encapsulates evil like no other, and he finds the strength to grab Lori by the neck. She sees her life flashing before her eyes. From the day she first met Michael to this very moment, that seems to be the end for her. Allison arrives in time to save her grandma and end Michael's life. Lori wins. Officer Hawkins arrives at Lori's house with a horde of police officers. The entire city is awake and fills the streets of Haddonfield on that Halloween night. It's a night to remember, and they march alongside Lori, who stands tall, and Michael's body strapped to a police car. The procession stops to watch Michael Myers' body go through a. Everyone will bear witness that the nightmare is finally over. Lori's moment of relief gives way to a flood of fear for what's to come. She doesn't know a life without Michael Myers. But with Allison and Hawkins by her side, things might get less frightening.